Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So much in here we got to talk about. So much. I didn't think we were going to get any news of this game anytime soon. And they gave us a lot. A lot. So there's a lot to digest. I haven't been keeping up with it because up until this point, everything that was being discussed was all rumor, right? Rumor and speculation, and now we got some concrete facts. So I'm gonna have to be brushing up on this. I'm surprised that they went with this instead of Final Fantasy 16, which comes out on June 22nd. Which, if I switch to my other cam, I do have a timer going, which is 13 days, 19 hours, 21 minutes away. By the way, so we will be coming back to that. I'm resuming my countdown to Final Fantasy stream today, and this timer will be going on throughout that stream, and I will enlarge it and get rid of the other text on the screen. But anyways, let's get into this trailer. Let's check this out. There's a lot to go off of, a lot to learn, and I just remember it was just marvelous, and I want to see it. Maybe we'll watch it all the way through. We'll talk a little bit. I won't ramble too much, and then we'll watch it again and kind of talk as we watch that time. Right? So let's just watch it clean from the top.
We're still here at the scene of this terrible disaster, caused by a massive tornado which swept through sectors 0, 1, and 2. Amidst the wreckage of the expressway, search and rescue operations are already in progress.
Just look at it all. It's so green. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
It may look that way, but in reality, it's barely hanging on.
Was wondering, what's Cloud been doing these past 5 years? Where's he been?
And you're asking me this?
This is gonna sound crazy, but as far as I know, Cloud was never in Nibelheim 5 years ago.
The life stream. It is the very essence of our star. The blood coursing through its planetary veins.
According to Hojo, they're connected to Sephiroth. Shadows of the Mad, I believe he called them.
Sephiroth was in Midgard. We fought him. Whatever happened, he's alive.
But why come back now? After 5 years, doing who knows what?
Well now, think we woke it up.
Angered it, more like.
Feast your eyes on the Turk's latest and greatest, Elena.
She may be new, but she's still a Turk.
They say she's a monster, that she can peer inside you, into the very depths of your soul, that she can become those you hate, those you fear, those you love.
Green. Yeah.
You murdered my dad! You burned my village!
You know that I killed her. So, who is she?
It's just as good the third time as it was the first time. Early 2024, 2 discs. Gotta love that. Cancel. Let's just turn that off. Alright, so I noticed a few things watching it this time that I didn't notice before. By the way, Sleep Party People, I'm Not a Human at All, really cool song. Check it out. As well as What Up RG's Praise. Anyways, let's restart from the beginning. I'm going to drop the volume and we're going to talk through it.
We're still here at the scene of this.
So I actually saw on Twitter, somebody had posted, they had a really cool theory that I liked, right? So he references a tornado in this scene.
Terrible disaster caused by a massive tornado which swept through sectors 0, 1, and 2.
Alright, so factoring that in, let's see if I can pull it up really fast. Fastest way is just go to the noties. Oh, that's, I want to go straight to it. Let's just go straight here. Right? So, Nana Strife, he said, the tornado must be the dimension they entered to defeat fate at the end of Remake, which is part 1. So they might be dead in the Remake timeline, and now are reborn into a new timeline where they defeat death. Nanaki is giving us a hint to when he talks to Aerith, but in reality, right? In quotes. I really like that theory. And maybe there's some weight to it, maybe there's some truth to it. We won't know until later, but I do like that theory and idea, right? Where this is essentially an alternate timeline and our characters did die in essentially the timeline of the first game. And because this game is called Rebirth, perhaps this is them reborn here in this timeline. Or Rebirth could reference something else, right? There have been some changes to this story from the original. I'm not going to go into that. Frankly, I didn't know the original story well enough to really spot all the changes, right? But he had that cool theory. I liked it. I'm running with it.
Search and rescue operations are already in progress.
All right, the unknown journey continues. Oh yeah, this is we'll call this section praise and accolade, right? Lighting's sick. And dude, after being in Midgard the whole first game, dog, it's such a breath of fresh air. Like, think from the character's perspective. And look at Aerith, right? To our knowledge, she's never left Midgard. Right? You know what I mean? She's like, wow, look at this place. It's amazing. And then you actually look at the scenery in game and it's pretty cool. It's not dingy, gray with this weird green tint. It's a big world. Whether it's open world to be determined, but still a big world with places to explore. At the very least, right?
I was wondering, what's Cloud been doing these past 5 years? Where's he been?
We still got our compass like before. Looks like there was a third marker for goal.
But as far as I know, Cloud was never in Nibelheim 5 years ago.
Right, of course we get chocobos, a lot of people like that. So I love that they brought this in specifically in the trailer, right? Because in the original game, my favorite part of that game was meeting this guy in his lab and listening to him talk about the lore and all that. And there's a lot of fan theories that expand beyond Final Fantasy VII, but are based off of what he says right here. And it's just a really interesting concept. And I don't feel like the devs had to put this in the trailer at all, but they chose to, and I'm really glad they did. It just warms me up inside, you know?
It is the very essence of our star.
And then to add on, right, he's talking about the live stream, which really is the primary, we'll call it the primary plot point of Final Fantasy VII. But then throughout playing Remake, we don't really think of the live stream at all, right? In part 1, we're just kind of going through Midgar, and it's us versus Shinra, Avalanche versus Shinra. And now, not only are we getting to see the rest of the world in this game, and with Red 13 as a playable character in this game, hopefully, fingers crossed, can you see my fingers? Yeah, but now we're also going into the greater story of this game, right, with the live stream, and I'm excited for that.
The blood coursing through its planetary veins.
According to Hojo, they're connected to Sephiroth. Shadows of the Man.
All right.
I believe you call them.
It looks like Red 13's in your party right there, and he's running with you through Midgar, or through the outside.
Whatever happened, he's alive.
But why come back now?
So in this room, we have Barrett, Cloud, Red, Aerith, and Tifa.
5 years.
I'm hoping that at any time our party can be interchangeable, customized how we want the party, and that it's not story-like story locked, excuse me.
Angered it, more like.
So we're getting some combat right here. I have a few remarks. Perfect. We'll pause it right here. So I can't get rid of the bar while it's paused. But if you look down here on the bottom right and on the bottom left, let's start on the bottom left, right? We have the menu just like we did before. But the menu has a new design. Before, all the boxes were blue. Right now we have some like some black backgrounds, gray on the button commands. I don't know why commands menu is gray, but vengeance mode is blue. That looks like your highlighted one. Right, and it's so new design to the UI. Right, that's just kind of cool. And then here's the main thing I noticed just as last time watching this trailer. So below our HP, MP, and below our ATB bars, we have these little, if you see them, these little vertical slots here that were not in 7 Remake Part 1. These are new, these are added on to the UI, and I'm curious what they're going to be used for. And in some of the other clips later, not all of these bars are filled in blue. So that's going to be, there are some new features in the game in addition to new stories, new areas, and all that. Really exciting stuff. And by the way, oh, she's cool. By the way, dog, I gotta say, this battle system introduced with the original 7, well, not the original, introduced with 7 Remake, this is absolutely a phenomenal battle system, right? It appeals to my turn-based desires, but also it alleviates my turn-based anxieties, right? It still feels like action, even though it's slowed down and it's turn-based and you have to build up an ATB bar. I personally would love to see a Final Fantasy VIII remake, and I think this battle system will work perfectly for that. All you do in the menu, you switch out materia with junction. That's all you gotta change, right? And everything else could stay essentially the same. Add in a button press for Squall's trigger on his gunblade. I think that'll be fire. It would suck to have to build up an ATB bar in order to draw magic, because in Final Fantasy VIII, if a character had a low magic stat, their draw would either fail and they get nothing, or they only get like 3 of the spell, right? So that would kind of suck. I think a decent counter to that would be sort of an absorption sort of capabilities like the magic tech weapons in Final Fantasy 15, where we'll say each ATB command, right, will absorb magic while it's used. How about that? Right? Or it could be on each square press will absorb magic as long as it connects. You just want to be able to select the spell that you're doing, but it would be very painstaking to have to manually draw 300 of every spell. Now, if you could transfer your spells between characters still, that would be helpful. Just use your high magic characters to draw the magic, give it to your low magic characters, and then redraw it again with your high magic characters. That's kind of what I do in Final Fantasy VIII Remastered anyways. But I digress. We're talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. New battle systems, as seen here, those do something. We don't know yet what yet, but they do something. New design to the UI, the battle UI, which is sick. Red 13 in combat, in action, in your party. That's dope, and then more on the way.
Feast your eyes on the Turks.
New Turk, right? She's new to, I believe, new to 7 Rebirth. I don't recall her in previous Final Fantasy VII content, but she's cute, so she's cool. Let's go.
Latest and greatest, Elena.
She may be new, but she's still a Turk.
Yo, dude, I never remembered this other dude's name. This other Turk.
Greatest, Elena.
She may be
This dude, I never remember his name, but why does dude always look so smooth, dog? Yo, he got the shades on like he Neo. He got the earrings on like it's the 90s. Right? He got the bald head like he's Sinbad, but he just cool, he just suave the whole way through. Like, really sick character design.
be new, but she's still a Turk.
But she's still a Turk. Cloud Tifa Aerith. We talked about, oh, this is actually a good example, right? So I had mentioned these bars, these new bars down here under the ATB. In this case, in this scene that we're getting of gameplay combat, they're not filled in, they're not blue. right? We don't know what these are used for, but they have a purpose. I'm wondering if it's used for, if you notice there were some like link attacks in a sense. I wonder if those are attributed to that, and we'll find out with time. Just a lovely scene, absolutely beautiful scenery. I personally, I want to be able to wade through the water when we play, but I can't think of a Final Fantasy game where that was an option. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can get your feet wet, but you can't really wade through the water. It's essentially an invisible wall. But maybe they'll do something different here, and I think it'll be really sick if they do. Right? I'm hoping with Final Fantasy 16 we have a jump button during exploration, because I've noticed with games, if the game doesn't have a jump button and function, you're not really going to be exploring that much. Just stay on the pathway. Right? So it needs to at least have a jump option. Anyways, let's keep going with this. Oh yeah, I kind of briefly mentioned it earlier, but we have new markers on our compass up here, which is great. Right? And they look different. So here we have a gold star. This goal has transferred over from previous. In a different scene, we had like a black box up there. Right? So there's new markers up there with which I like. If you actually come down here to the bottom left, the UI, now it's not that shaded out black version like it was before. It's back to that blue like we have in 7 Remake, but commands is still gray, if you've noticed that. So we have almost a more dynamic UI. I do like the way that it's angled to kind of give it a 3D effect as well. I think that's pretty cool. It's like angled inwards. Yeah, but let's keep going. And I like the scenery. I like that we're outside. I like that there's grass and green and other colors. It's cool. Oh, perfect. The very next frame. All right, so here, and when the camera pans out, you can see this area looks a lot like you're just outside of Midgar. I think in another shot, we could actually see Midgar in the distance. One of the things with this that I didn't like is I felt like it reused a lot of assets from Remake, from Part 1 in Midgar. But we'll see later, and from what I've seen in the trailer, there's way more to like than not to like. So, it's not going to be a problem or a deal breaker. Oh, can we go back? Yeah. So, what is that in the background? So, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is Cosmo Canyon, right? It is sort of red. It is a bit red. I just don't remember. In my memory, the canyon was more like caves, more so than structures. So that's why I'm thinking this is like just outside of Midgar, right? Maybe because it's around City. Maybe it's just on the other side or something like that. But I do feel like some of the textures, some of the shaders, I do feel like this area in particular has a lot of reused assets, you know, and I guess it bothers me because those were PS4 assets, right, while the rest of the game uses the PS5 assets. And I noticed that difference to me. But again, it's not a deal breaker to me. And maybe when you have the game on your screen and not a 1080p stream of the game, right, maybe you won't even notice it then. Oh, I forgot that. Yo. Okay, so I'm looking at this bottom right area here, right? The names. Because we had Yuffie in a scene, but we don't have a Yuffie box. Right, but how much does each arrow go? 5 seconds? So let's go slow motion. Aerith, Cloud, Tifa. There we go. Proof in the pudding. Yuffie is a playable character in your party, which is awesome. It's so cool. It's so, like, you know, Intergrade. It was alright. It was alright. I thought Remake was better than Intergrade. I truthfully, I expected more from Intergrade. But it is what it is. It was cool that we had Yuffie at all. And you know, if you played the OG Final Fantasy VII, you know Yuffie is an optional character. You could complete the whole game without ever acquiring Yuffie in your party. If you also have played the OG, you know that you could completely miss the opportunity to get Yuffie in your party as an option to begin with, right? She's missable. She's an optional character. They did some story rewrites, and you're definitely gonna get Yuffie. What I'm wondering is, for those that did not play Intergrade, or actually that doesn't even affect it. I want to see how Yuffie joins your party, because in the OG version, she joins your party by trying to rob you. Right? So I wonder if they're gonna keep that, or go into do something different, or how that's gonna work. So I'm excited about that. Red 13 is cool. There are 2 characters we don't see in this trailer that we know of from the OG version, and we'll talk about that later.
They say she's a monster. That she
Oh yeah, we get a lot of Sephiroth in these remakes. We didn't have, I don't feel like we had this much Sephiroth in the original, and he still became such an iconic character and villain.
You murdered my dad. You burned my village.
I'll get a Tifa. I want a Tifa statue in that outfit. That'll be hard.
So, who is she?
Bravo. Again, early 2024 on 2 discs. I'm surprised it's coming out so soon because, as you know, Final Fantasy 16 comes out this month, June 22nd. That is exactly 13 hours and 19 minutes away. I'm blah blah blah. I wish. No, 13 days and 19 hours away. Right? So it's coming out so soon. Most of us are probably still going to be playing or replaying Final Fantasy 16. Really depends on what the exploration and the post game is like for me, because frankly that's one of my favorite parts of Final Fantasy games. Since Final Fantasy 13, especially since the story was so linear, the post game was really make or break for me, and the post game is what saved it for me. Final Fantasy 15, I believe, has a great post game. I'm still play that actively, just running around, exploring, doing random stuff, trying to complete the archive and all those items without walkthroughs and all that. Good stuff, good game. Final Fantasy 16 being the next one in the series. I'm hoping for the freedom to free roam, at least after you finish the story, to just run around, have a good time, explore, and that sort of thing. The way the map was kind of described is like the areas aren't actually connected to one another, right? But via fast travel and stuff, that shouldn't be a problem in free game as long as every place is still accessible, right? So I'm looking forward to that. VII Rebirth doesn't seem to be following, from this trailer alone, that same world building formula. Let's look at something better. There we go. We'll just mute it for now. Yeah, Seven Rebirth doesn't seem to be following that same sort of world building formula, and as such, I think compared to 16, VII Rebirth's going to be closer to an open world, though I don't believe it's going to be full open world. Yeah, I'm excited for this. There's a lot to take in. I'm glad I bought a PS5, and truthfully, to be 100%, when we see trailers like this, it's an absolute reminder to me. This is why I don't mind buying a PlayStation console to play Final Fantasy. Every PlayStation I've ever owned, which is really just the PS4 Pro and the PS5, I've exclusively bought for Final Fantasy, because of Final Fantasy. Didn't care about any of the other PlayStation exclusives. I bought it for Final Fantasy. PS2, I didn't get that until like 10 years after it launched. The PS3 was already out and well into its life cycle by the time I bought a PS2 used for $20 at GameStop, right? But what did I pick up? Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy 12, right? And Kingdom Hearts. But yeah, I'm the guy. I will buy a PlayStation just for Final Fantasy, even though I'm an Xbox gamer, because unfortunately they are very weird about putting Final Fantasy on Xbox. Final Fantasy 13 we got on Xbox. Final Fantasy 15 we got on Xbox. Every other Final Fantasy didn't come out on Xbox. Currently, you could get Final Fantasy 7 original, Final Fantasy 8 remastered, Final Fantasy 9, is it a remaster? Final Fantasy 9, and then Final Fantasy 10 HD remastered, and Final Fantasy 12 the Zodiac Age. Today you could buy all those on Xbox, but that wasn't even a possibility until what, 3 or 4 years ago, when you could get those games, that some of which came out in the 90s. You know what I mean? Final Fantasy is weird about coming to Xbox. I don't know why, but I like the IP. This is my favorite IP, even over Star Wars, which is my next favorite IP. And I think it's, for myself, it's worth buying a PlayStation just to play Final Fantasy games, especially at launch. That's all I got for you today. I'm D of DNA. I'm probably going to cut out a lot of the video, and I'll just come in right before we watch the first trailer. But all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. If you saw anything you liked, please drop a like. If you're interested in seeing more, click that bell to stay notified. And with that being said, I hope y'all have a great time. God bless. Peace.